What's up, Planeswalkers? It's your boy K-Dog. Another fun video for you guys. This one we're in Standard for a Gruul Trample list. That's right, Trample Tribal. Been wanting to build around Trample for a little while now, and Ikoria gave us some sweet new cards. Most notably this guy, Quartzwood Crasher. It's 2 red, green for a 6/6 trampling dinosaur beast. How sweet is that? And whenever one or more creatures you control with Trample deal combat damage to a player, create an XX green dinosaur beast token with Trample, where X is the amount of damage those creatures dealt to that player. So the way this works is if you have multiple creatures that deal combat damage and the Trample damage all goes through from multiple creatures, you don't get, it doesn't trigger for each creature, for each of those creatures. It's the total trample damage from all of your creatures. You combine that trample damage dealt to the player, and that combines into one XX Dino token with trample. So you don't get multiple tokens, you just get one single token, regardless of how many creatures and how much trample damage was dealt. So something to keep in mind. It's got some sweet Planeswalkers here with Vivien, Monsters Advocate. She's a 5 mana 3 loyalty Planeswalker. Look at the top card of our library. We can cast creature spells from the top of our library, so that's pretty fantastic card advantage. +1, make a 3/3 green beast. We can give it Vigilance, Reach, or a Trample. And we can -2 whenever we cast a creature spell. We can search for a creature with lesser converted mana cost, and it goes straight to the battlefield. So that's a sweet way to get extra creatures out. And of course we got Lukka as well. We're playing both of them. Both the new Planeswalkers. Lukka is a 5 mana 5 loyalty Planeswalker. +1, we exile the top 3 cards of our library. And creature cards, again, we can cast this card as long as we control a Lukka Planeswalker. We can -2, we can exile a creature we control, then reveal cards from the top of our library until you reveal a creature with higher converted mana cost, and it goes straight to the battlefield. And then -7, each creature we control deals damage, there we go. Deals damage to its equal to its power to each opponent. So that's pretty sweet. Obviously, the Quartzwood Crasher is a 6 powered creature, and we have a lot of other powerful creatures here as well. So once you get multiples of those, thanks to Lukka and Vivien, and you can just use Lukka's ultimate -7 here to finish off your opponent as well, without even having to attack in. But also, Proud Wildbonder is a pretty sweet new tech as well. It's a 4/3 trampling for 4. And it says, creatures you control with trample you may have this creature assign its combat damage as though it weren't blocked. So not only do your creatures have trample to deal excess damage, but now you can just have all of that damage go straight to the player's face. And obviously with Quartzwood Crasher, or even just closing out the games, as just a fantastic ability. However, it is just a 4/3 for 4, so not really a great rate. So we're already in just the 3 copies. We also got Gemrazer, aka this Godzilla card here. It's a 4/4 beast for 4 with reach and a trample. You can also mutate it for 3. And whenever it mutates, destroy an artifact or enchantment from our opponent's side of the board. Alright, so those are all the new cards. Obviously, the best way to use Quartzwood Crasher is with haste. So we got a couple copies of Rhythm of the Wild, which we can give our creatures Riot, which gives them either haste or a +1/+1 counter. And our creature spells cannot be countered. So that's pretty sweet, especially against those flash decks. Gruul Spellbreaker is just a must. It's a 3/3 with Riot and Trample. So you can give it haste or make it a 4/4. That's pretty sweet. Then, of course, on our turn, it has Hexproof. It's got a couple copies here of Domri. Just a little bit of extra power boost for our Trample creatures, for them to get through even more. And also a little bit of ramp here. We can +1 to add red or green. Of course, creature spells can't be countered this way. And we can -2 to have one of our creatures fight one of our opponent's creatures, since we are playing some big creatures. So just going to be a nice piece of removal here. But Domri is a little bit fragile, so we're in just the 2 copies. And a great way to use Lukka is these mana dorks here, Incubation Druid and Paradise Druid. And these are also great targets for Mutate as well, since neither of them are humans. They're both elf druids. Paradise Druid, of course, is hexproof, so it's a little bit better. But Incubation Druid works just fine as well, especially since it is not a human. So just having that option to mutate on turn 3, turn 2, Incubation Druid, turn 3, Gemrazer mutated onto this guy, making it a 4/4 trampling attacker on turn 3. It's pretty sweet. And we've also got a couple copies here of Collision Colossus. We can always just kind of attack all, even with our Paradise Druid or Incubation Druid as is, and then depending on how our opponent blocks, we can pump it up with Colossus and kind of catch our opponent off guard a little bit. And of course, just being able to give our trampling creatures even more power is fine as well. And since all of our tramplers are on the ground, obviously Gemrazer has reach, but otherwise we have the option of the collision side as well to take out flyers, basically. And also got one copy of Ilharg the Raze-Boar. Just pretty sweet, 6/6 for 5 with trample. And of course, whenever it dies or it's put in exile, you got to put it back into your library, third card from the top. And pretty sweet synergy with Quartzwood Crasher, because when it attacks, you can put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield, tapped and attacking. Then, of course, that creature goes back to your hand at the beginning of the next end step. So if you do have a Ilharg out on the battlefield and a Quartzwood Crasher in your hand, it's just pretty insane value right there. And then, of course, Quartzwood Crasher will trigger with trample from here, and just give you a whole ton of extra power on the board in the form of those beast tokens. And for some removal that's also in the form of trample, of course, running 3 copies of Purphoros Intervention. We can create an X1 red elemental creature token with trample and haste. We have to sacrifice it at our end step. Or we can deal twice X damage to target creature or planeswalker. So it's nice, flexible removal against non-red creatures, but planeswalkers as well. So it's just a fantastic inclusion for us. And I think that's pretty much the deck here. And go to the mana base, got a couple Castle Embereths, just another way to kind of pump up our team here. 6 mountains, 8 forest, 4 stomping ground, and 4 temple of abandon. So we don't have any turn 1 plays, so having to tap land on turn 1 is perfectly fine. And going over the sideboard real quick. For those aggressive decks, we do need some extra removal, so a couple copies of Lava Coil. And we'll also take out the Incubation Druids for Bonecrusher Giant, as we can kill their creatures with the Stomp side, and then get down to 4/3. It's going to be hard for our opponent to attack in, and if they do remove it, they're going to be taking 2 damage in the process with any target removal on their side. Obviously, we have the Gemrazer in the main deck, but sometimes you need some instant speed interaction for enchantments or artifacts, or if you just want to hit your opponent's graveyard. Return Nature is a pretty flexible card that way. And Tibalt for those life gain decks. Your opponents can't gain life. We can just kind of bring this in for like maybe Domri. And for more tech against those flash decks, running 3 Shifting Ceratops as it can be countered, and protection from blue. Then of course we can pay green to give it reach, trample, or haste. So that synergizes with what we're trying to do here. And finally, last bit of tech, Godzilla, King of the Monsters, or Zilortha, Strength Incarnate. It's a legendary dinosaur, 7/3 trample. The 3 toughness is a little wonky, but lethal damage dealt to creatures you control is determined by their power rather than their toughness. So for the most part, this is going to be a 7/7 for you. So this is going to come in against like Deafening Clarions or Storm's Wrath, things like that. When your opponent's running those against you, you just bring in Godzilla, and now those Storm's Wrath dealing 4 damage. Doesn't really do anything because they have to deal 7 damage for it to be lethal, because it has to be equal to your power. So that's pretty sweet right there. And of course, you know, Godzilla. Alright, we'll jump into some best of 3 and see how the deck does. I'm super excited to play with Lukka and Vivien. They're just some like really sweet cards, not broken, just really fun and just strong if you're using them the right way. And of course, Trample is just a fun little mechanic when you want to. Sometimes you just want a bunch of big dumb creatures and just beat down your opponent. Alright. Double temple, but we do have a couple turn 2 plays, Spellbreaker and some removal, so hand seems pretty decent. Just need to find some of our bigger threats, and we will be off to the races, and of course we can scry into those. As we essentially have 5 mana with the 2 druids here. Done it with the Triumph. Probably don't need more lands. Looking for more of our creatures. This is the Jeskai one. Okay. So it's like somebody playing fires and unranked play. Nope. Ooh, cycling. Okay. Nice. Let's get down our yeah, let's get down our Druid for hexproof. Another tri-land. Do we trade here? Yeah, let's trade. This can get a lot of extra value in. See if they have any tricks. Nope. Okay. I think they just thought we weren't going to. Thundermane, that's pretty cool. Alright. Yeah, let's just kill it. Let's play a little more controlling. It seems like they're running out of steam here. 2 cards left. Another Spellbreaker is probably not terrible. I love a land. Let's keep digging. We already have 1 Spellbreaker. Depending on what they play here, it's pretty tempting to get the rhythm down. So this can deal 2 damage to any target. We don't need to do X1, but you know, we'll go ahead and do X2 here. Just keep controlling the board here and hope we find some more lands. Okay, they do get to cycle. But the lion only targets creatures, so that's kind of the downside with it. Sky Knight Vanguard, that's interesting. This one has reach. I think we'll just play it down as a 4/4. Seems pretty reasonable at this point. Valiant Rescue. Okay, so I can go wide here. And we'll take the block. Get it in for 1. So just go Wildbonder, see what they got. Cycle like a 1/1? Nope. Just taking the 4 like a champ. There goes Yadaro, that's pretty cool. Making another 1/1. This is where it's nice to have the Wildbonder. There we go, there's a land. I think at this point we just kind of want to get set up a little bit more, so I think we'll go Incubation Druid. Actually, we should have done that the other way. Just play out the Spellbreaker then. Just go big. And we'll throw the Gemrazer at them, hold back the Wildbonder, even though we have another one. Technically have lethal. Just to be sure, we'll play the second one. Attack with all 3. And now we can assign these damages as they aren't blocked, but I don't think our opponent realizes that. Alright, these cycling decks are pretty sweet. I saw MTG Jeff play one earlier today. It seemed pretty cool. Kind of tried out one myself a little bit earlier. It's pretty solid. Alright, so against the more aggressive oriented deck, we will want these Bonecrusher Giants. I don't think they have enchantment removal, so I'm not going to worry about that. Could bring in some Lava Coils. I think just controlling the board worked pretty well that first game, so we'll just focus on destroying their creatures and they won't get that cycling value. 3 forests. Can't keep this. This is better. Now, which Planeswalker do we keep? We have 2 Lukkas, so I think we'll trust in the Vivien. She gives us more immediate value. We have the turn 2 Paradise Druid. Just looking for maybe a Spellbreaker or something we can do on turn 3. Gemrazer worked out pretty well, so hopefully one of those. Yeah, definitely excited to get the Crasher onto the battlefield this time. Alright, turn 2 Stinger again. Well, there's our second Lukka, so that worked out pretty well. And I think we're in a spot where we do not block this time. Now our opponent's getting online pretty quick. Well, let's hold up the Paradise Druid. Get our Rhythm of the Wild down. And next turn we'll have mana for the Crasher. So we'll see what kind of removal package they have. I know they have, what is that, Zenith Flare? It's pretty decent. We could also Bonecrusher Giant here just to kill maybe the 3-1. It's pretty reasonable. Let's go play the Bonecrusher Giant. Just make it big. Hopefully they don't kill our Druid here somehow. They're going to attack in with their 2/2. What can they have? Let's take it and see what they got. The Zenith Flare wants cards with cycling in the graveyard, so it could just be that. Definitely go in haste. Attack. So Zenith Flare is only at 1 right now. Ooh, response. I do take some damage from that. We get a 6/6 now since we dealt 6 trample damage, so hey. Next turn we got our Planeswalkers. Oh, just Vivien just get some more creatures down. And now they have a flyer, probably just go reach on the beast token. Our opponent is in a world of trouble just out of nowhere. We could also go haste here as well. Might be better. Let's say vigilance. Oh no.
I call,
it's non-token.
and Decoria answers.
Got a little greedy there, thinking that the beast would trigger the rhythm, but then I forgot that it doesn't count tokens. But that's alright. We got a 3/3. And they're just gonna wow. Jump block and take 10. Sweet. 10/10. And this deck is super sweet. And their deck is pretty cool too, though. I like the cycling deck from what I've seen of it. I don't know about the Vanguard. Response is pretty decent, though. There's the Zenith Flare. Take out the Druid. Gain a little bit of life. Whew. Kind of a rough start both games, but we able to pull it off there.